All right, first let's start. Let's actually introduce everybody because we have someone new who wasn't on last week. We've still got Eric Post. We've still got Sam Tricase. New tonight, Chad Givens. Chad, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Chad.
Dynamite intro, Chad. Dynamite intro. Chad, you've been working in the car sales business since you were 18, right?
I've been working in the car business now for 16 years. I started when I was 20 years old. Um, Day in, day out, all my life, same dealership, same family. But for 16, I just went over 16 years.
So for 16 years, you started off as, just someone selling cars. Now you are the guy in charge. You're a GM, right?
Yeah, I started off as just a normal salesperson for 2 years, went to finance after 2 years, did that for about 3 or 4 years, then went to got a sales manager position. Uh, from that point, went to one of our other stores. From there, went to ended up going back, or no, I went to one of our third stores that we had just opened up. Then I went back to finance. Then I went back to all over the map, and now I've got two stores that I'm controlling the sales departments.
Very cool. So you're going to be our business expert when
Oh,
it
thank you.
comes to the Montpelier rundown. We've got all areas covered here. We've got teaching with Eric Post. We've got labor when it comes to Sam Tricase. We've got business when it comes with Chad Givens. It's an all-star team tonight. All right, so let's kind of get this kicked off. Fortnite, Epic Games, who created Fortnite, is in a legal battle now with Apple and Google. So what the problem is, they're trying to, I guess, protest. Apple and Google each take a 30% fee from all transactions made on their respective app stores. So for Android and for iOS, if your game is on, or your game or your service or whatever is going to be on their platform, what happens is let's say a Fortnite where you can buy skins, you can buy, hatchets, whatever. Doesn't necessarily make you better at the game, it does make it look cooler. So they take 30% of every single fee that comes from the app that's on the App Store. Now, if I'm buying it from PlayStation, that's PlayStation's business. I don't really know if they take a fee, but I know Apple and Google do, and that's actually driven their stock price way up because that's free money for them uh, in all of that. So Fortnite, after years of being on the app stores, are now actually kind of going after that because they don't want to play. They don't want to pay the 30%. They don't think that's fair. Now they thought it was fair before, but now they don't. So thoughts upon that, Chad, as someone who's worked in business for a long time.
Well, the thing behind that is, Fortnite has almost become its own entity. It started off as an app, okay? Now it's grown to this major worldwide market, really. You got two guys that sat back and just created this game that was popular. Now it's at the front of every child's adult life, what have you. They don't need Apple. They don't need Google. They don't need these people anymore. They've got, people like ourselves, or people like my son who comes running every other day asking for $10 for these skins. That's what they're building their money off of. So to say, or to quite honestly, I'm surprised they're still on that platform. I don't know what. I'm not into the any of the Xbox games or the PlayStation games a whole lot. I don't really know where it sits on the Xbox platform. Is it a free game? I guess it's just a free game that you download, right?
Correct.
So then at this point now, once you download this game onto this Xbox, that's where you start putting your money in. So if Apple and Google are charging, what's Xbox charging? Does Xbox charge, or PlayStation charge? Or do we know that?
It all comes down to I actually don't know that. That's not something, and I don't even know if PlayStation or Sony or Microsoft even released those numbers. But I think it all comes down to who's handling the payments, right? So when you buy something off of the App Store, Apple literally handles the payments. They don't send it off to PayPal to handle. They don't sell any of that stuff. So when they're handling the payments, they want to take their cut. So, but like for if you released a game on a laptop, let's say a PC, a Windows laptop, Microsoft does not, to the best of my knowledge, take any cut of any in-game transactions because they're a general purpose computing device. And what Fortnite and Epic Games is trying to argue is that the phones, tablets, they're all now general purpose rather than what they were before when they were first coming up, when they had the walled gardens. And if you're and Apple is saying no, you're going to play by our rules and you're going to give us that 30% fee because that amounts to just billions. And we've seen Apple now a $1 trillion company, I believe.
So I guess to kind of go back to that for the other question about with Xbox, PlayStation. I know with Xbox you got to pay I think it's about $10 a month in order to play online. I assume it's the same for PlayStation too. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that's where that money's coming from, and I think this Fortnite people have kind of gained that knowledge to say, hey, look, Xbox and PlayStation are going to get their money over here. Apple, you don't have to pay anything monthly for Apple or Google, Android, whatever. That's why they want that money. So now Fortnite has gotten smart saying, well, I'm going to retain this money, or I'm going to, I can put this money back to someplace over here and make this better. So, yeah, that's a beautiful and brilliant plan on their behalf to get off that, in my opinion.
So in return, since Epic Games has said we're not having this, Apple and Google have completely kicked them off of the stores. You can no longer download the game unless you have downloaded it previously. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, you don't want to follow our rules. You've literally breached the contract that we've had with you. You're done. It's over. Goodbye. Epic Games also has what they call the Unreal Engine, which is what a lot of popular games are built on top of in order to have the game. Apple has gone a step further and said, okay, everybody who's using Epic Games free tools in order to build games, you're no longer doing that either. So we're no longer accepting games from you now. And that's how far that they're willing to go for that 30% cut of that $5 transaction, because it doesn't seem all that much, but over time, I think more than anything, just that 30% fee has actually catapulted their stock up so much that it's made them a $1 trillion company.
So they're not going to allow people to build new games that are going to be free.
Using the Epic Games tools. Sam?
So I was just reading here online, about the same topic, and for what it seems to me is, they still have this stuff available through like Apple's App Store and the Google app, but you're paying that traditional premium price for them that includes Apple's 30 and Google's 30% cut. But you can buy your V-Bucks, we'll say, for Fortnite directly through Epic Games, with your Epic account. You can go straight to their website and you'll get it for a discounted price for them. And say you want to buy $10 worth of V-Bucks, what it would cost on Apple, you can go to them and get it for $7 because they're not, and they said, here you go. It's available over here. We want you to basically sidestep Apple, buy your stuff from us over here, straight from us, because we're not trying to benefit or let Apple take the piece of the pie. Say, here you go. You don't have to pay them. Come over to our site, give you a discounted rate. Even with it's the same with PlayStation, Xbox. So on those platforms that these providers are not charging them to make that purchase as Apple and Google are. So PlayStation, Xbox, or just straight from Epic's website, you get it at a permanently discounted rate now, from 25 to 30% of a discount if you are not buying it from the App Store. Because because they were like, listen, we don't want to pay out to them because we think it's terrible that they're gouging everyone. So here you go. We're going to give it to you cheaper. Come over here and get it. We'll credit it to your account even if you are using the Apple platform to play the game. So they're trying to sidestep them, and as they should. Apple doesn't deserve. They don't need to be taking their profits. I think it's ridiculous.
And that's what
So what we've seen for those of us that actually have played the game over the years, we've actually seen a monster drop off of number of people that are playing the game. We've seen Epic actually include bots in the game to actually seem like there's probably a lot more people, but numbers have shown a sharp decline over the years. Eric, how much of that you think that Epic is probably trying to say, well, I can't afford this 30% anymore because we've had, when we had millions and millions and millions of players, a year or two ago, that 30% was fine. Now that we're declining, hey, no, we need that 30%.
Well, you're looking at basically you've got a $2 trillion company fighting an $18 billion company. Epic Games is worth about $18 billion last I saw, and Apple's worth $2 trillion. But they're basically paying for rent. That's what it all kind of amounts to. Epic Games is renting a spot on Google and renting a spot on Apple. Now, the number of people playing Fortnite, actually, I don't know. I haven't seen the statistic. Did you find something saying that there was a decline in players on the game?
I did, and there has been a decline. I believe that's not something I don't have it with me. I don't have it to share with everybody, but I'm pretty sure I can actually link it in the description to the documentation that I've seen. But I'm not sure if that was leaked material. I'm not sure if Epic Games actually releases that.
Okay, yeah, because I wasn't sure. I didn't look that up ahead of time to see, but.
Yeah. All right.
Great radio.
I would be curious to know if there's a decline over the years. What's the increase over the past 6 months, 7 months? I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, you would think that right now you'd have more people playing it because everybody was stuck inside for so long.
Right.
I think basically, well, I was going to add too, other companies are starting to do this. Spotify's mad. And Facebook, they came out too, arguing against Apple and Google taking a percentage of what they do. So you're actually kind of seeing a big, kind of a revolution happening with all those companies because they do feel like, yeah, they're renting space when they don't really need to be because they think they're big enough on their own. So is it really right for them to have to pay a certain percentage? And Apple's response is, well, we could charge 70. Like they're like, if you're selling it in a store, that's what the upcharge is going to be, right? If you had to actually buy a disc that had to do that, they're saying it actually is cheaper to do 30% here than it would be for you to, like, say, buy the software and have to pay the higher fees for that. And that was their argument, and I'm not saying I disagree with that.
The crazy thing about it is that Apple knows with the technology and everybody on their phones today, they've got everybody by the balls. That's the
yeah.
Apple is running your economy when it comes to all this other stuff. Look at us tonight. Really, shoot, you can get on Google Meet from your phone. There's everything goes right there through that phone. If you got an Apple, you're going through the Apple. If you got an Android, you're going through the Google. It's insane what these phones have done to us.
Well, I completely agree. We could probably spend the rest of tonight, but let's move on. So our next topic, we're going to get back right into the political realm. Didn't want to spend too much time on that because I think we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours last week just on politics. But so we want to talk about tonight. The question is, does a two-party system still work with no cap on what big business can donate to political parties and politicians? Right now, Washington has actually changed the rules over the year to where I don't believe that there's actually is a cap on what you can donate anymore because of super PACs, because of this, because of that. Eric, talk to me a little bit more about this.
Sure. So what we saw, got to get unmute. What we saw in 2010 was a Supreme Court ruling that basically allowed for super PACs to exist. And these political action committees aren't officially part of a candidate's campaign. However, they are part of the campaign. Like, it's kind of like a sidestep. And they've basically allowed absurd amounts of money to go into politics. And it's really money that we've never seen. There's always been money in politics, and you've always had that kind of struggle. And we saw kind of in the early 2000s, there was a movement to try to cut back on that. And then that Supreme Court ruling in 2010 just really made a big change in where we stand when it comes to super PACs.
I think they've hurt because eventually you have to take the money. Because I remember Barack Obama, when he first ran, was talking about more grassroots, was talking about this. But when he won the party nomination for the first time, he then went to the businesses because he understood, and I don't disagree with him, you need that money to win a national election.
And that was in 2008 before the Citizens United ruling.
Right.
So this was before even the crazy money had the ability to be thrown into it. But what it's really changed more is your local elections. You now have out-of-state money that are these really these groups have actually found ways to infiltrate into state elections and throw money into a place where money doesn't matter, but they want to get that vote because on the national level they're trying to take control over an area. So that's really where we've seen major changes. Presidential spending's always been insane. But what the local elections are really what have been impacted by Citizens United.
Sam?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the people that, if they can just funnel money into different campaigns, it's just an easy open bribery. You know, you say these companies come in and say, "Hey, we'll fund your election, your candidacy. You know, give you what you need because it takes money to run and it takes money to win. There's no doubt about that. You know, you need the exposure, and we're here to help you do that. But once you're in, we need you to look out for our interests." And you know, I feel like it's just it's too much of a favoritism, game at that point. You know, they say, let's help us, we'll help you as best we can, as long as you don't do what's in the best interest for your constituents. You do what's in our best interest because we funded your campaign. And that's not how it should be. I understand everybody wants, money's a huge thing, but let's limit it. Let's, let's cut them back a little bit, and humble them and say, okay, here you go. You have X amount that you're allowed to donate. These people are only allowed to take X amount of money. And maybe, take everybody, go back a step and say, why don't we take donations from, a local level and, try to get the people behind us and let the people say, hey, we want to, to back this guy because, candidate A is going to be the best for us. Let's take care of the people. Because it's a state thing that's way more impacted than on a national level. They come into our state, West Virginia, is an example, and they say, here you go, here's all this money. Don't tax us. Don't cut us down on EPA regulations because, that costs us X more amount of money, but we're willing to give you money now, and it's going to save us in the long run. So you take care of us, we're going to take care of you. We ain't really going to take care of the people of this town, these towns, this county, because we don't really give a shit about them. We care about making a corporate profit, and it on some people, they look at it and they say, well, okay, if that's fine, we'll swing it to say how it's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, growing up in West Virginia, I think we've all seen the massive amounts of equipment that was used from timber companies coming in generations ago, completely, just taking everything that they could and then just walking away. I can't tell you how many times I've seen bulldozers out in the middle of the woods that were put there 50, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, and completely left. So I think we all understand what it's like to watch a business from out of state come in and completely take over. I don't know where Sam went.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second. But no, you're 100% correct. That happens a lot, in the construction industry. And,
does it, Chad?
I'm sure. I'm sorry, what?
Where is it? Sam, are you a ghost now?
Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice? Because that's all you really
Yes.
need to hear.
Yeah, that's all I really need to hear.
Oh no, I'm back. Sorry, I had to step away. But the waste, when it comes to stuff like that, is there's so much money wasted in construction that could be, I feel like it could be reutilized in other areas. Just on the small scale that I work and do with the construction force, to them, when it gets down to dollars and cents, that's not important to them. It's the six, 5 figures, 6 figures. That's where they care. They don't care when it comes down to, 3, 4 figures, behind the decimal or above in front of the decimal. They don't care about, that. But there's just ends up with so much waste that could be redistributed and done, way more efficiently.
Chad, you got anything to add to that?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
I don't follow politics as much, and I hate politics. And I ain't gonna lie.
Well, I don't know how much of that even applies like to the car industry, because you all pretty much have like a monopoly, because if you have one Ram dealership, you usually don't see another one until the next town, right?
Well, yeah, and your manufacturers control all that. For example, us, go 20 miles, you got another one. There you go, probably 30 miles down the road, you got another one. But manufacturer won't allow most of that.
All right. Well, let's move on. Our next political topic. I know Chad won't really go ahead.
I wanted to ask something about Chad real quick about Tesla, because it's actually banned in our state. Do you know the actual reason? I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. It's specifically how they sell vehicles as opposed to how you sell them. Do you remember? Or did you follow that when that happened?
Well, no, not really. But the way that they sell them is kind of like, you go straight to. I didn't follow all that. I got to tell you though, watch out for this Tesla. Watch out for this hybrid. Even Chrysler today is starting to push a lot of these hybrid vehicles. It's going to be an up and coming thing very, very soon.
I feel like it's something that our state just wanted to block because they're not first and foremost utilizing fossil fuel, and we're so hung up on that aspect that we can't get behind something that might be new and up and coming and utilizing renewable energy. But at the end of the day, if you have an electric vehicle, it still has to get energy, that is produced somewhere, in our state, 70, I'm just throwing a number out there, probably 70% of our state's electricity is produced by using a fossil fuel to generate that electricity. So it's not like they're not using it. They're just not using gasoline. And, somebody came in there, and that's the same thing. Somebody with one of these super PACs came in and said, listen,
right,
we need people that are, we need vehicles that are buying and using diesel fuel. We need people that are using gasoline, because that's where we are making our money. We're not making money off of people using electricity and charging their vehicle off of the electric power. At the end of the day, the electric is still being produced by some sort of a fossil fuel to generate that power. But it's just not directly affecting these people that are at the top of the chain. They want it all. And that's why, they came in and said, Tesla's bad, for us. It's not. Who cares? If somebody wants to come into our state and build a, production plant or sell vehicles or whatever, anything that's generating revenue that, we're going to make money off of taxes, but by all means, let them do it. Let's help them out even at the get-go to get them started, because if they're selling 100 or 1,000 vehicles a year, how much tax revenue is the state making off of that? Because at the end of the day, that's the important thing. It's not important about what Joe Schmo's company is making off of sales of gasoline or certain fuels to power these vehicles. But we're so blindsided down there in our state government that's all they want to do is listen to who's feeding them. It's a big puppet show.
Well, I completely agree.
I'll get more on why West Virginia blocked it for next week.
Okay. I kind of looked, and it's because Tesla doesn't allow third party. They sell it specifically from their, They don't allow anybody to franchise. And all the major companies early on went to state governments and was like, "Hey, you need to stop this from happening."
So you're saying basically Tesla came in.
Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I'm gonna say so. Basically, one of Tesla's branches would say, "All right, we're going to build this here," and John Doe, car sales couldn't say, "Hey, we want to brand out Tesla and have a John Doe Tesla dealership." Is that basically how you're saying this is happening?
Yeah, they sell directly and they don't allow anyone locally to franchise.
Which West Virginia's big on dealers.
Right.
That's your licensing fees, all your state fees, your DMV fees, tax fees. West Virginia's very, very pro dealer just because of all that tax revenue coming in.
Oh, something to talk about next week.
Yeah, we'll definitely dig a little bit more deep into that next week. Let's get to the 2020 election. What do we think in chat? I'm not sure of course you don't like to follow politics, but we do a lot. So when we look at the 2020 election and we look at the stark differences between the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign, how do we feel that we still have hanging over our heads Russian influence in the 2016 and in the 2020 election? Make no bones about it. They're coming and they're actively on social media trying to thwart a lot of people's ideals. But we do have a lot of things hanging over our head, like Paul Manafort, WikiLeaks, and a lot of the other things that boosted the Trump campaign in 2016. Now, of course, we all kind of thought that was going to be straightened out, but nothing has actually, I think, been done about it. So what do we think about what do we think Biden is actually going to do if he would be elected? Nobody wants to take this one.
That's a tough one. What's he actually going to do? Biden, I think he got the nomination because they think he could beat Donald Trump, because they thought he can unite voters. He's not too progressive. Because I know people, your middle-aged worker wasn't very keen on Bernie Sanders. Was not very big on him, but they can get behind a Joe Biden who they see as more of a moderate and everyday person. So if Joe Biden does get elected, do I think he's going to jump right in and rock the boat? No, he's one. It seems like if he does get elected, it'll be one of those. And history can sometimes prove you wrong sometimes, but it seems like he'll be one of those placeholder presidents where he just kind of toes the line or stops the momentum maybe of like the Trump movement, if you will, and can kind of stall things up and then preparation for the next movement in American politics. So that's what he seems like to me. He almost seems like a stopgate kind of candidate. And unless something wild happens, if you would have, like, heaven forbid, another 9/11 or something like that, usually it seems like if he would be elected, it would be considered a stopgate presidency, in my opinion.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I don't think he'll do anything to really rock the boat. I don't think a lot of presidents do, especially from what happened when we talk about things that happened in the past. It's good for candidates to sit there and say, we need to correct this. We need to correct this. This person did this, blah, blah, blah. But when you actually get elected, you don't normally go after them. There's some people out there that say that George W. Bush committed war crimes. Well, we sure forgot about all that real quick now, didn't we? And that's something
Not everybody.
Not everybody, but U.S. politicians have pretty much forgotten about that. I know that there are some people that are still that's still in the back of their minds. But when we talk about the national politics, we sure like to move on to the next thing. But let's stop talking about politics. Move to sports. Eric, give us a sports update.
All right, so the big talk this week, Fernando Tatis Jr. He's an exciting young player. He broke in the big leagues last year. He's the son of a major leaguer. If you followed baseball in the 90s, Fernando Tatis Sr. was a legit third baseman. I remember him playing for the Cardinals and some other teams. But I guess there was a blowout game. It was like 10-1 or something like that. And he was up with the bases loaded and had a 3-0 count. And I guess the coach who actually used to coach in Texas the year before is now the coach for the Padres, had put the stop sign out and Tatis missed it, or who knows if he even put a stop sign up and didn't want to swing. Major League Baseball anymore, everybody swings 3-0. This isn't like it was 5 years ago or 25 years ago. If it's 3-0 and you get a pitch, you're going to try to hit a home run because that's what you do in baseball now. So he got one. I mean, the guy threw him a meatball and he hit it out of the plate. And then Texas was all mad about it. And it turned to this whole thing. And then the managers were apologizing. Tatis was apologizing. And I was sitting there not understanding it because it was against the game because the very next pitch, the Rangers pitcher threw behind the next batter's head because he was mad that he gave up a home run. Well, for one, you're getting beat. So that's on you. 2, the bases are loaded. 3, it's a 3-0 pitch, bud. You had 3 pitches right before that you threw out of the zone.
Don't throw a bunch of crap.
All those at bats still count. And that counts for arbitration. And it counts a lot for players because when they get to arbitration, statistics is one thing that they look at. And arbitration is when they get into their 4th year, they can actually start to negotiate for pay. And, well, even the years before that, your 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year player. But then you really, truly get to make some money starting in the 4th year as a major league player. And they base all of that off statistics. So that can actually hurt your bank account by not playing or by taking a pitch down the middle when you should hit it out. That can hurt you in the long run. So I was completely confused by the whole concept of why this blew up. I don't know if it's because we're in a pandemic and everybody's bored and looking for something to talk about on talk radio or something, but it just blew up.
I think when we look at baseball, it's a different monster, right? Because in football, there's ways to go about not scoring anymore. I can run certain right.
Oh, you
can
kneel the ball,
Yeah.
Well, I can just hand the ball off up the middle. I can do little dump passes. I can do things. And if you don't stop that, then there's nothing I can do. In basketball, we can kind of maneuver. We can just shoot shots. There's things to do. But in baseball, if you put one down the middle, that's your fault. I don't know what to tell you. I'm swinging, man.
You're serving it up on a platter. That's what you've learned to do is hit the ball, hit great pitches. And when they come down and you're like, oh, okay, I don't want to hit a great pitch just because we're kicking the crap out of these people. You're a professional athlete. Go out there, do your best all the time, and show the fans that this is you're out there to play the game, not be polite.
Well, you can't run out the clock. Everybody gets the same amount of outs. I mean, period. Now, there are unwritten rules like you don't steal bases when you're up 7 runs. Okay, I can live with that. That makes sense. There's no sense in trying to – because usually the pitcher's just trying to get through the hitter and that kind of thing. You're trying to move the game along because the game's basically over. I understand that. But those at bats still count. I don't know. I mean – and those pitches still count too, bud. Go up there and execute. Don't blame that guy.
Even if I've got a team, even if I'm up, 7 runs, if I've got a guy on base right now that's actually going for some sort of a record or going for something, if it comes to stolen bases, and that stolen base could actually be the difference between a record or more money, how can I tell him not to do that?
Yeah.
It's not his job to stop him from stealing a base. It's just not.
Right.
And I've had this mentality, even through high school sports and up. Below high school sports, I think that there's ways to get around that. But especially when you get to major Division I teams and into the pros, these are all stars, man. You got to tell them not to swing or tell them not to score. I mean, I'm sorry, I personally can't do that, and that's coming from a guy who got stomped in most games that he ever played in throughout high school and beyond. Chad, you went to Bridgeport. They're used to, crushing people. What do you think?
It's just a winning attitude. When you're out there and you get this meatball thrown at you, I mean, it's just the winning nature. You smack it out of the park, so be it. I agree. I mean, the fans want to see that too. I mean, we all want to see that guy come up and hit a home run. To apologize, it's just absurd, and it's asinine in my opinion.
I mean, that's your job. Go out there and hit the ball.
The only mistake he made was apologizing afterwards.
Right.
Because he shouldn't have even apologized for it. It's like, what are you apologizing for, man? That was his first career grand slam, and he felt bad about it. Are you kidding me?
Don't tell me.
Well, he felt bad because the pitcher threw it his player, and he thought it was his fault that his player got thrown at, and he didn't want that to be a thing. So I kind of understood to a degree because he was like, I did something wrong and it led to my next guy, maybe one of my teammates getting hurt, but that was bull crap.
That pitcher who threw the ball is the one who should be the one that's outstanding, quote unquote.
Yeah, suspended.
Right.
Yeah.
People for no reason.
Free Joe Kelly.
Yeah, free Joe Kelly.
You're gonna throw at someone because you put a meatball down the plate. 3-0 is an automatic green. 3-0 is a green light nowadays.
Yeah, everybody swings 3-0, especially if you're a good hitter.
That's probably that might be the best pitch you're going to see. So if you actually get a 3-0 pitch, yeah, you're swinging. I mean, there shouldn't even be any doubt in that.
It's the pitcher's job to execute. It's not your job to make the pitcher execute. I mean, well, it's your job to make the pitcher execute. Well, did you see where Trevor Bauer? I don't know if you follow Trevor Bauer on social media, but he's very outspoken. He had cleats created that said "Free Joe Kelly," and the league reached out that he was going to wear them for his last start. Yeah, he had cleats.
T-shirts.
He was ready, and the league reached out to him and told him that they would kick him out of the game and suspend him and fine him if he wore those cleats.
Did he wear them? Because he should.
Well, it shocked me that he didn't, because he's that kind of outspoken person. He ended up pitching a complete game and was lights out, and then afterwards, because he's a stud pitcher anyway. But he went to Twitter and he was like, yeah, I was going to wear them, but I didn't want to put my team in a terrible spot, because if I show up in the first inning and they kick me out of the game, now the whole bullpen's blown for the next week. And I didn't want to do that to them, to my team. So, but I thought that was crappy anyway. They told him this year they could put anything they wanted on their cleats. Those are the cleats right there.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrote them on there. They were pretty fantastic. I was hoping that he really would wear them. Because that's a great job that he had somebody do that for him.
Heaven forbid baseball be fun for people.
Yeah.
They have this fear of making baseball too much fun. I don't understand it. The league is terrible at marketing themselves.
Well, I think they're still under the assumption that, and I hate this. I had someone tell me just the other day, well, if these athletes and these professional players, they're over there, they're getting in fights, and they're not setting a good example for the youth. They're not supposed to. Professional athletes are not supposed to be the example for your children. You are supposed to be the example for your children. And I will preach this until I die. You are supposed to be the example, not someone on a TV at all whatsoever. So I think the league's still trying to play that role for some reason, when they should be out there saying, no, we're not the example, guys. We're just athletes. We're just human beings out here trying to play a sport. That's it. Yeah? Nobody? That's right.
No.
Mike,
agreed.
No, 100%. I was reading into depth about the whole Joe Kelly ban. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He didn't, he threw some inside pitches. And one might have definitely been at somebody's head, but still.
The dude broke a window at his house over the offseason during the pandemic. Did you see the YouTube video
I saw that.
Video of it? Yeah, that was Joe Kelly. Yeah, he broke a window. He's all over the place. He can't
control it.
He pitched for Boston, and I never thought he was
that video though of him breaking that window is hysterical.
It was classic.
Like, oh, shit. It's like, oh man, that was
and
bad.
I think his wife should have never got it fixed. So every single time someone came over, she'd be like, yeah, this is what Joe did when he was pitching out the backyard. Professional baseball player broke this window.
Can't even hit the mitt or the net. He broke our window.
And that thing was like 15 feet to the right. It was like the worst throw I've ever seen.
In our experience, in professional softball that we've played, I've seen some bad throws coming in. There's no doubt. It happens. So I understand where he's coming from. I see some people throw some wild stuff in there. It's fine. It happens. Let it go. Let it go, and let's go on with our day.
I mean, getting inside pitched is not anything new. It's not like this is something that he did on, the pitchers throw inside, get off the plate. I mean, that's what they're trying to make.
I'm more mad he didn't hit anybody.
Let's not defend Houston. How about that?
He just threw him by him.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend Houston in any way, shape, or form.
What drives me
that's
crazy,
what it looks like.
just going what you were saying, David, is that they don't they don't want athletes to have. Some people don't want athletes to have a voice or to ever voice their opinion on anything, and that's one thing that does drive me crazy, because every single one of us has a voice. They just happen to have a platform that's bigger than our. I don't know if we have any subscribers on our YouTube channel, but They have a bigger flat. Yeah. They may have a little bit bigger of a platform than we do, but they have every right to say whatever they want and say how they feel. And it really irritates me when people act like they don't. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to listen to it, but they have every right to say whatever they want and voice their opinions. Celebrities, too. People say it about celebrities. What do they know? Well, probably just about as much as we do. Right. We have every right to our opinions. They have a right to theirs. So
I agree. And someone asked me just a few days ago, they said, why is Black Lives Matter painted on the NBA court? And I looked back, I said, what do you care? Really, why is it a thing for you? What do you care about that? Well, it's I just want to know why. Well, I don't know. I don't know. You call the NBA. They made a statement about it. It doesn't affect me. I don't care what they put on their court. I really don't. No. I support the Black Lives Matter movement. However, if the NBA wants to put it on their court, it's their court. Let them do it. Don't watch the game if you don't like it.
They've been fighting institutional racism in their own sport for a while. If you go back a few years and look at some of the stuff that's happened with some of the owners, and the players have always, that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other
topic, but that's why the NBA was one of the first forefronts to do it. Look, I can't remember the owner of the Clippers a few years ago, but he ended up getting ousted because of some of the statements he said. And anyway, we'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well, anything for the good of the order here.
I want to hear from Chad.
Chad,
what's new in the car sales world?
I'll tell you what, it's pretty car sales world lately has been rocking. Price of trades are sky high. People are still buying cars. We've sold more cars during a pandemic, and people were supposed to stay at home, than we were selling the year before with no pandemic.
Why do you think that is?
Well, one, you got people who getting their stimulus money. They wanted to spend that. Boredom spending. Not only that, but manufacturers and dealers as a whole kind of reached out to these people from the platform of the internet. These people are sitting at home now. Okay, biggest push this year has been we can deliver cars to you. You don't have to leave your house. That alone has just spiked everything.
Chad, did you guys have an issue with the inventory and potential shortages?
Big time. We still do.
And that's what I've kind of noticed. I drive down Old Bridgewater Hill, often. You see, you just look at it, and I've noticed it more with like the Ford line. It doesn't seem to I don't know if the Chevy dealership up there and they have the Mitsubishi dealership across the road, if they just know how to space their vehicles out better to where it looks like they have more capacity than what Ford does. But like every time I drive by Ford's dealership there, and maybe they're just struggling, I'm like, it just seems like they're spacing them out more. There's less inventory.
Well, you've got way less inventory because there for probably about 2 or 3 months, the manufacturers were not producing, they were not shipping. Now they're starting to ship, but they're only shipping onesie twosies, which has increased the pre-owned markets. The values of trades have gone sky high because nobody's got inventory. People are out there buying inventory. We had a Ram truck there. I think it was at the end of last month. Retail on this thing was $36,000. It went for $40,000 through the auction.
Wow.
Just insane money.
Do you want to sell my truck for me? If we can get a good price, I can trade up. I mean, I'm always in the market for a good deal.
I love the music coming from your mouth right now. But it's so bizarre in a pandemic. You're supposed to be at home. You're supposed to be, staying safe and this and that. But we're selling more cars today than what we did in 2019.
That's fantastic.
It's insane. It's been a great year. So.
Well, that was the goal behind the stimulus too. It was to try to get people to spend locally.
Well, yeah, you continue to get them out there and keep the economy
get
flowing.
People out there and get a down payment for them. I'm all in. I'm for it. Will we get another one? We get another one? They talked about it, and then we didn't. Then we are. Then
the only thing, and it's probably a sketchy subject for me to touch on is, when they were, I want to say they stopped they put a ban on evicting people, as a tenant in a rented facility, and I understand, stuff happens and. People lose jobs, but these people are subject to having unemployment available, and it's not readily available. I know that, but to say, as if say if you're from the renter, or the the rentee, the renter perspective, you say, listen, I understand, I have this thing, and I have bills on a base, and if you're not paying, it makes it tough for me. Now I'm in the middle of a hardship because my property is not producing money, yet whoever could be either still working like normal and nothing has changed for them, or could be on unemployment with extra stimulus money coming in, and they're living a great section of their life because they're probably making more right now. But then there's also the flip side of, okay, yeah, they're unemployed and they're still waiting on their money to come through, because there's been such an influx. But I feel like you're cutting the landlords, kind of cutting them off at the knees a little bit, saying, you can't do anything about these people, because if you can't do anything about the people not paying rent, it's already hard enough now to evict a person from a property because they're not paying rent. If you just go ahead and give them the free room to say, here you go, stay at this person's property for free, because you're not required to pay because we're in the middle of this, it's enabling people.
Well, I think it was trying to stop one crisis at a time, because if all of a sudden we have this we're trying to keep everybody indoors and away from each other, and then there was this mass influx of homelessness that took place in every major city across the country, it probably would have exacerbated the pandemic issue already. I think that was the goal behind it. I understand it might hurt the landlord, but you might be keeping a whole block of 7, 8, I don't know how many people would possibly lose their area that all of a sudden are on the streets and don't have anywhere to go. And then you're trying to house them. They're going for homeless. I mean, it could just free fall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, for sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
Here's my biggest issue with that whole thing, that the whole stimulus, when it came out, was they also backed it up with all these banks forgiving payments for X amount of time. You called up your local bank, your auto loan, and said, hey, I need forgiveness, and they forgave you for, I don't know, and I know some people that did it for 90 days. Well, in 60 days, all of a sudden they want to take the vehicle. But on the profile, on the people's credit profiles, it was tagged as payment deferred. Okay? The issue behind that is now a new bank's looking at this loan saying, well, he can't pay this payment. So this guy could have excellent credit, and all of a sudden now he can't, quote unquote, pay the payment. And this guy only took this just because he said, well, shoot, if I can get a couple months free, why not? Knowing that's going to get tacked onto the end, okay? But nobody told these people that, hey, your credit's going to be stalled a little bit. Your credit's going to be, quote, unquote, messed up a little bit. Fortunately enough, I've seen some people rebound out of it, but these big banks aren't telling people this stuff.
If let me ask you this, Chad: if somebody buys a vehicle from one of your dealerships directly, and I think you guys predominantly use an outside source for financing, but to say that they stop making their payments and that vehicle becomes available for like repossession, does that affect the dealership, or is that just solely on the bank's responsibility to reclaim and try to recoup their losses?
No, it does hurt the dealership. It hurts relationships.
Well, yeah.
If I send you as Mr. Banker 100 contracts, and I've got 30 of them, or 20, 30 of them that are repossessed, that's somewhat of a high number. Okay,
Right.
Banks do allow for dealerships that have so much repossession. They like to see those numbers maybe 10% or less.
Right,
They
for sure.
If I start sending you 100 contracts and 60 of those repossessed, we've got a big problem. And typically, when you do see that kind of stuff, you're looking at fraud problems, from a dealership that may hike up somebody's income when they really don't make the money. There are those kind of dealers out there. But yeah, absolutely, it can hurt the dealer in some way or another in terms of your percentages. Do they allow for it? Absolutely. Is every single one going to hurt us? No. But there will be times where this may pop up, and then this Mr. Banker saying, hey, we need to look into this a little bit more on ABC Motors.
Right, for sure. I understand that completely. Yeah. It's something that just popped into my mind, while we were on the subject.
Yeah.
That was awesome insight. Actually, I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
great
Thank
insight.
you, Chad. Thank you, Sam. That was good.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We've gone on long enough. So we're going to be back next Sunday and have another little chat. Maybe Dominic will be back. I'm not really sure. He said he would. So we'll see about that. Thank you, Chad, for joining us. Eric, Sam, all the crew. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
Catch you on the flippity flip.